Drop top on a Wednesday, sunroof with the hot top. Talk cheap while you in state, hard life when your heart knocks. Every day is a sin day, always had the bad thoughts. Yeah. Drop top on a Wednesday, ayy, KQ on a Wednesday. Is it time for change or have the times been changed? Everything I see is so wild and strange. Everything I hear is so wild and days. I must have woke up in a time when my time is changed.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Highly Doubted Podcast. I'm your host, KQ Dog, and this is episode 140. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, everyone who is listening. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. To all my Apple, Spotify, YouTube family members who are listening, the Highly Doubted family crew, thank y'all, man. Willie's not here. I told y'all it's going to be another 6 months before she comes and blesses us again. I ain't holding my breath. Don't hold your breath, people. But Whitley is not here for this episode, which kind of for a good reason, because the topics I have, she wouldn't care for or wouldn't, really bring a lot of insight anyway. Well, partially. But it's been a lot of things that's been going on. Definitely want to announce to the people, want to talk to y'all, upgrade y'all, update y'all about what's happening. A couple things. Number one, I have been wondering when I was going to get to this point where I needed to get back on a good foot to do 2 episodes a week. And that day has finally come. Gosh. But from this point on, I will be having 2 episodes a week like I had back when this podcast was in its OG phase. I will drop Wednesdays and I'm going to say Sunday. I'm going to drop Wednesdays and Sundays now. I was going to say Saturday, but I do Sunday. So that's one. Number two, I have been outside hanging out with some of the homies, you feel me, bowling and whatnot. And I've also been getting a bunch of requests from people about, hey, when can I get on the podcast? I want to get on the podcast. I want to talk about the podcast. I want to talk about ish on the podcast. I'm trying to be better with cursing. After I did a whole bomb frenzy of curse words last episode, and I did not put the intro outro music. So yes, I was very, very lax on my part. So sorry about that. Intro was definitely at the beginning. But yeah, man, people want to get on the podcast, talk to the dog, talk about things, get on this platform and share what's on their mind. So yeah, man, as the episodes continue, we're gonna have more people, more voices, special voices on this podcast who are just gonna share their thoughts on whether they want whatever they want to bring to the podcast, or they just want to share and sit down on the couch and talk about what I already have laid out, like it was before. Cameras and visual stuff coming soon, like I always say. So yeah, man, we're definitely gonna get people on here, get people talking. It's gonna be fun as we get to the the prime version of the Highly Doubted podcast. See, it's the OG version and it's the prime version. The prime version had visuals, so we're trying to get that prime back. You feel me? So yeah, that is where I will have you guys with that. We will continue with the word of the week. And I guess that's going to be weird because if I'm doing 2 episodes a week, is it really the word of the week? I guess it'll be 1/2 of the week or 2 words of the week. We have 2 words of the week. So this will be the first word of the week. And the second word of the week will be, this word is called belie. It is a verb. Belie. To misrepresent, to show, to be false, to refute, disprove, gainsay. Often used to show an action directly contrary to the true situation. As in, his shaking hands belied his calm smile and voice. Belied. You know what I'm saying? People be thinking that I'm such a cool, calm, respectable, punctual person, which I obviously am at work because that's where I'm supposed to be. They think that, I just be sitting at home with a bunch of tea, sipping, watching soap operas and just binge watching intellectual documentaries or something. No, that sounds like a vibe. I ain't gonna lie. But no, belied. I'm belying you. I'm the biggest entertainer in Charlotte. You don't even know who you're talking to. You don't even know who you spitting facts at. You know what I'm saying? You don't know who blessing you on the timeline, who blessing you in the presence. You feel me? Some of the homies know. But nah, man. Belie, that is the word of the week. We got topics today, man. A lot of this will be a lot of recaps because I am behind. We are behind. A lot of things are happening to where we need to catch up, and because of us being behind, we want to have these 2 episodes a week so we can be on top of things when it happens, even if it's just me coming in with a shorter episodes, shorter timelines, shorter run times on episodes, but at least we'll be consistent. I don't mind that, especially if it's just me. So yeah, the first topic of the day is the Super Bowl. Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. So my prediction was right, but it was wrong, but it was right, but it was wrong, right? So I said I knew the Seahawks were gonna win because I wanted the Patriots to win. I wanted the Patriots to win, but the Seahawks won. So yet again, my pick was right, but it was wrong. Congratulations to the Seahawks being Super Bowl champions. Very defensive game. As an ex-defensive player, I enjoyed that game. One of the few who actually enjoyed defense. It was nice. It was nice to see defense, dominate. Boring for the fans, I get it. But I don't really care about the Super Bowl in terms of the game. Let's talk about the halftime show. Bad Bunny did his motherfucking thing. Bad Bunny did his thing, man. Did not understand a single word. I don't know his songs, but in terms of the visual and the aesthetic and the presentation as a whole, it was marvelous. I understood everything. I understood the assignment. I understood the history. I understood the unity. I understood the trials, the tribulations, the reflection of being where you're from and making it out, right? It was very apparent just off of the presentation alone. Aesthetically, it was a vibe. It was fun. It looks like a place that, you know, it's home. He was showing home to us, and even in Puerto Rico, um, there's football. There is love for football out there. I think also a lot of people need to like chill out with all of the disrespect when it comes to Bad Bunny and who he is in terms of him being a Spanish speaking artist and him being on the Super Bowl to represent his culture. Just because we are not, at least the majority of football watchers are not Spanish speaking, does not mean that he doesn't have any reason or correlation to be a part of football or the Super Bowl. I think that's ridiculous. Going off of what Willie said off the last episode of it being a conspiracy theory that he won the album of the year and then he's going to headline the Super Bowl. Unless, like, again, let's just say I wear that hat. It's a good album. It's good music. And even when they were preparing us for the Super Bowl, they were talking about, hey, check out Bad Bunny. Hey, check out his music. Hey, check out the songs that it's going to have. And that's not even just for Bad Bunny in a Super Bowl. That's any artist who goes on tour. When artists go on tour, I'm giving y'all some game if y'all do not know. When artists go on tour, most likely their set list is on Apple Music. If you look at the said artist who is on tour, it'll most likely give you a playlist of the music that they're going to be playing. And that's just where you can be up on what is going to happen. Sometimes you want to just have the mystique of not knowing, but for people who want to know an artist or don't know of this artist or get to know an artist, that's what it was for, and it was beautiful. Can't say anything negative about the Bad Bunny Super Bowl concert. It was great. Super Bowl halftime show. It was great. It was great. No complaints at all. No comparisons to another Super Bowl. This was greater than that. None of that. I think it stands alone in its own right to just be a grand Super Bowl performance. And it was good. It was good. Where's my phone? Okay. So apparently there were some things that were being represented in the performance that was controversial or showed his rebellion to the music industry and to America, not just United States, but just the Americas, all the Americas, because that's where he brought all of the flags together to show that America is not just the United States of America, it's South America, it's Central America, and all the other countries that represent the Americas. So I also like that representation as well. So there was just a lot of things that me and Whitley were watching the show, and we could tell that certain things that were happening we couldn't truly understand lyrically, but we knew that that was some sort of a shot to show you that I'm doing something I ain't supposed to be doing, or I'm saying something that you I shouldn't be saying. So shout out to Bad Bunny for using the platform to get his shit off. I ain't mad at that. I love that. I only have one sidebar with the Super Bowl after the show and the game was the commercials, and I ain't gonna lie, like I've already watched a couple episodes, I already watched a couple podcasts that were talking about the Super Bowl commercials. They were weak. I didn't like them. They weren't really it for me. There were two in particular I want to talk about, and well, one in particular, then one's just a general. I'll get the general out first. The general is I do not like these once hip hop records used as a commercial for a song. And I think that's always been a thing that's been going on since Double Mint Gum. When Chris Brown did Forever, he flipped Forever and did Double Mint Gum. I will never forget that. I will never forget that. That will always be a nugget in my head. That boy did Double Mint Gum with Forever. Wow. So I know it's a thing, but just brother, 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 what is that, brother? What is that? Brother, ew. That's how I feel with some of them, man. Like, and there's no all of them. There's none that I like. Even the double mint one, I don't like that. I don't like that one. I don't like any of them. So, yeah, I don't like those hit songs and commercials. Trying to flip the lyrics, no, don't like it. And then there's this other one, and this is where already less than 15 minutes in, I'm already getting to some crazy shit. So I have been unaware that there is Jewish hate going around, right? To where I'm saying this because on one of the commercials that happened on the Super Bowl, there was a high school scene where a kid was in his locker and two kids ran up on him and they were bullying him. They were bullying him and they were just picking on him. And then a black kid, is high school, black kid comes up and pushes the two bullies away from him, stands up against them and helps the other kid out, right? And he had a blue square on his chest, right? And they were making fun of him about that, calling him names and name calling. And then the black dude came up, defended him against the two guys, and then he also put up a blue square on his chest. And then it said, uh, you know, support against Jewish hate, basically. And then when the commercial was over, me and we looked at each other and we were like, what? Huh? Like that? Is that bold and blatant? And then the second thing, which was where the black dude, or at least in terms of this commercial, the representation of the support group was the black man or the black boy, which is very interesting. Very interesting. There's nothing wrong with the message. I just think that certain historical contexts need to be shown with the black African American community and the Jewish community for there to be such a commercial to show such representation and correlation. I would just like to see more historical context be brought, accurate historical context to be brought between those two communities up to the forefront when a commercial like that comes up. I wonder if people know that. If you do not, then I would like you to use your history and look at that. Um, so that was an eyebrow raiser for me. And I'm just gonna say that and get up out of there. But that is how I felt about the Super Bowl. Let us get to the real meats and potatoes of this project, y'all. Meats and potatoes of this episode. Meats and potatoes of why I decided to pod on this Valentine's Day that no one shows love for me because I don't have a Valentine's Day. I'm not trying to have a pity party. I'm just saying that let's get into it before I get into it. I'm gonna do a Valentine's Day segue because by the time this comes out, Valentine's Day will be already passed. And for all you people who celebrated Valentine's Day or had a Valentine's, shout out to y'all for having a successful Valentine's Day. To all my men who did well for their girls, taking her out, got her favorite treats, made sure that she felt good on this day. And shout out to all the women who did the same for their man and reciprocated and brought things for him and did things for him. And shout out to all you selfish ass hoes who didn't think to think about your man because you thought it was about you. Hopefully that man realized you're selfish and he broke up with your ass. No, I'm not hurt. No, I'm not bitter. These are just observations you need to have on this day. Certain people think that Valentine's Day is strictly for the man. I mean, for the woman. That is false. And any woman who is listening to this and is arguing with me on the airwaves right now as I'm talking about how it is for the women, that is why you didn't have a Valentine's Day this weekend. Because you don't know about reciprocation. Reciprocation, ladies. Reciprocation means when your man does something for you, you do something for your man on Valentine's Day. That is not the day you are a princess, but make him feel like a princess, a prince too. No, make him feel like a princess too, damn it. Shit. Pamper him too. There is a thing of mutual self-loving. I would just, maybe I'm projecting, I would just want that for myself. If I was doing some Valentine's Day shit, I would be doing over and beyond shit for my lovely lady or the lovely girl who I chose to be my Valentine. But at the same time, I would like some reciprocity. Reciprocity. But that's all I'm saying. But yeah, anyways, shout out to all of the people who did a very fine job in Valentine's Day. I'm not going to get into the negativity because we're not going to do that on this episode, this lovely Zen episode of what could have possibly happened or any of the BS toxic things that happened on that day. We're not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about the anniversary of Solo Savage and Solo Savage 2. Okay. Those two albums did come out on Valentine's Day. So shout out to myself for dropping those two projects on Valentine's Day. And, make sure you go hear those projects. Those are, for all intents and purposes, love-esque albums, you know what I'm saying? Like I know movies. I know Solo Savage, the first one has a little bit more bangers than Solo Savage 2, but the whole point of it is to be very melodramatic and, cinematic and, heartfelt and all those things. So yeah, shout out to Solo Savage, shout out to Solo Savage 2. That's anniversary that I definitely wanted to give credence to. Um let us move on. Like I was about to say, the big kahuna of what I was about to get into. Sorry, I had to do that segue. J. Cole, Jermaine Cole, the fall off. And before I get into it, like I already said, I was about to get into it. Devin, damn you. We were supposed to pod about this before I podded about this, so I could at least give you my genuine take so we can have a genuine conversation about it on your podcast, and it would have been a wonderful episode. We're still going to talk about it, but damn it, it will be the second time I've talked about it, and it won't be as genuine. Yes, it will, but it won't be the first time. I tried to give Devin, if y'all don't know who Devin is a good brother of mine that I work with at the job, and he also has a podcast called The Cancel Podcast. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I believe it's on Apple Podcasts. Hopefully it is, but it's definitely on Spotify. You can go check him out. But the point was, I talked to him and I said I wanted to get on this podcast and talk about the Fall Off, the J. Cole album. He talks about music more so than I do in terms of just topics itself. So I wanted to get in there and talk to my good brother about some music and talk about J. Cole as two North Carolinians, two Charlotteans who love J. Cole and talk about Cole. And we had a day, and he said, "Hey man, can we schedule?" And I said, "No problem. We gonna do that." But I'm gonna get my shit off, man. You dropped the ball, podcaster Devin. But it's all good. We're gonna link up and do it again when we get up. So definitely watch out for that episode. All right. Jermaine Cole, the fall off, man. I have to give you my genuine first thoughts as it comes to today as you're listening to this, because a lot of time has dropped since the album and I've listened to it multiple times. So I'll give you my first reactions and we'll go further. My first reactions was, this is not a commercial album. This is not something that I could just listen to and just do whatever I'm doing because he's speaking, he's talking, right? And when you know you're a J. Cole listener, you already know he's gonna have lyrics and you want to listen. But there's certain pockets that he hits where you can do things casually and not have to be so tuned into what he's saying to catch on. It was not that. This album, you definitely have to listen because every song, this both discs tell a story, right? Both discs tell a story to where I did not really get that until the second listen. To be fair, just like I talked about Devin, I listened to the album full through, not really giving it the full undivided attention that it needed. But I listened to it, and of course, it sounded dope because J. Cole was rapping that shit. And I talked to Devin. I said, "Hey man, how you like the J. Cole album?" He was like, "Man, that thing is beautiful, man. It was beautiful. I almost shed a tear, bro." And I said, "Damn." And I was like, "He said, how about you?" And I said, "It was okay. It was cool." He was like, "You ain't how many times you listen to it?" I said once. He said, "No, no, no, no. I know you like it. I know what you're saying, but you gotta listen to about two, three, four times." I listened to it the first time, and I thought it was cool. But then I listened to it a second time and a third time, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing on earth." And I said, all right, Devin, all right, Devin, I'll come back to you after I listen to it a second and third time." So I had to work one game, and we got off. I got off really late, so and I wasn't tired. I'm up. So I just put my headphones in and I listened to the fall off again from beginning to end, no skips, none of that mixing down the end. And ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you that Jermaine Cole, this is how you make, if this is what you're saying, this is how you make the ending of a grandiose discography, a body of work, like over albums, right? Because what I've come to understand is the first album is him going to Fayetteville at 29 and the situation that came about when he went to Fayetteville at 29, and then the situation that happened when he came 10 years later at 39. And the way that he expresses himself is so graphic. That's a word that I heard from another podcast, so I'm just using that. I could picture everything he's talking about. And it is so dope to be from North Carolina, being raised in Charlotte as long as I was for the majority of my life, honestly, to where the beginning of Cole's journey from the warm up to, let's just say, the warm up to sideline story. Because sideline story, I remember vividly being in high school in class, and we were in the computer lab, and we were doing work, and I would go on J. Cole's website, and I was listening to the album. And I remember just listening to, in my head, a local artist who was dope. And a lot of people weren't really feeling it, or it was a hit or miss with it. But I think, like a lot of Cole fans who speak to it or have spoken to it already on their platforms, this is a win for all of us, no matter where you're from. If you were a fan of J. Cole from day one, this is the win, because he is the people's artist, right? The people's artist, to where if we discuss anything, we're not going to discuss anything else other than Cole in this moment, because this is Cole's moment. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to respect Cole and who he is and what he's done for me personally through my life, and how he's inspired me through my career, to where to give them his own platform and his own flowers. This album, is it his best album to me? No. But is this album necessary for me to look at Cole and say, you are the best to ever do this thing? Yes. Because the way that he approached all of these beats, even some songs that are not 100% on my wavelength, the man is lyrically gifted. And I think at some point we just have to stop caring about sales, right? Because at the end of the day, he made a lot of sales off of this. We just got to look at the body of work, and the body of work just shows a man who is not who's been progressing as he's aged. And I think he's also creating a narrative, as he spoke to in one of the songs, that as you get older, you get better. Why I feel like this is a young man's game in terms of style and ability? Because in an aesthetic hip hop world, trendy and fashion is a young man's game, and being hip to what's hot and what's new mostly is a young man's game. But if we're talking about the actual style and the actual thing that we call hip hop, and you rapping over a beat, the older you get, the more you've lived, the better your pen is in terms of how you can get things off. And this is also another thing I've noticed about this Fall Off album. He sounds like he can go 2, 3, 4 more albums. He sounds like he's just ready. He's repping to go, right? It don't sound like he's ready to fall off and go away. That's what people are saying. He's done. No, he sounds like he's itching to get back and do more. That's what it sounds like to me. And that's where I think that it might be more so the fall off of J. Cole in this arc. We may call this arc of J. Cole one, because again, he's independent, just like Kendrick. I'm only bringing him up just for this situation to say that last album that represents you being on the label does not mean that you're done. That means that everything that you do now is on you. And I love that, because if this album is anything of what he's going to do now, I love it, because people were saying that some of the production was lacking in certain areas, and they said that certain beats were made by Cole. And I like beats by Cole, right? He's made beats, and I've liked the songs that they were for. And majority of, if not the first, I think the first album or the first disc was him. And if that was him, then he's doing great. He's excelling. I love the vocals. I love the vocals. He's not a singer. No, we know he's not a singer. But the fact that he did so many runs and harmonies all over this album, instead of going to X amount of singer and getting this singer and trying to find Miguel again, like, I respect Cole for filling in pockets that he felt like he could step into. And I think for a lot of artists, it teaches you to step out of your comfort zone, because the music that you hear in the beginning of Cole's out of his discography, he would not do this. He would not do these things. He would not be singing and harmonizing like he's doing and feeling as confident. And it sounds good, because it sounds good to me because he's confident in what he's doing. Is it better than so and so blankety blank? No. But is it for this Cole album and his legacy and his road? Oh my God, bro. He was singing his ass off. And I loved it. The let out, bro, come on now. The let out was perfect. The let out was perfect, because if you just know where Cole is going, he's getting out of the box of hip hop. Not to say that hip hop is not where he comes from, but the box that we as a culture have labeled hip hop with, in terms of BPMs and and topics, and just how we go about labeling songs and vibes and BPMs as hip hop. He's breaking that, singing more, bringing more of a lo-fi aesthetic to the game, popularizing it to a point where it's already a thing if you have your niche or popular artists who do those things. But J. Cole, everybody knows J. Cole. And everybody's gonna listen to J. Cole's album because it's J. Cole. What is J. Cole gonna do sonically that's going to that affect people, influence people? And he's bringing lo-fi vibes into the aspect, and I love it. And this is also a nugget that people probably don't know, but I think people need to understand. There are producers who are not the creme de la creme mainstream producers, but there are producers who are out here in the game who are making dope beats every single day. Just like me, who writes every single day, there are producers who make fire beats every single day that probably you've never heard of before, that are nominated, Grammy awarded, that are nominated winners, right? Not every artist, not every producer is Tay Keith and Southside and everybody. Like there are an army of producers, just like there's an army of rappers, everyday producers, everyday rappers who are talented. I'm saying this to bring this home to say when artists like J. Cole put out an album like this, sonically, that affects the producing culture. Producers like the ones I just mentioned are now influenced by the sound of this album and are going to make their versions of that sound, and that's going to be the sound for a while. So, case in point, if you have beat stars, I have beat stars. If people have beat stars, shout out to my people who know on beat stars, you understand what I'm saying. When albums come out and there's a certain sound that's happening, your favorite producers or the producers that you have that you follow on BeatStars will start making beats that emulates that album that just came out. And I'll take it a step further because the picture that they choose for that beat is that artist. So basically what I'm saying is since J. Cole's The Fall Off has came out, there have been a lot of producers who have been making a lot of beats sounding like The Fall Off. It happens all the time. All the time. Playboy Cardi put out his album. Whole bunch of producers on BeatStars started making Playboy Cardi beats. ASAP put out his album. Whole bunch of ASAP inspired artists. And there's always producers who have that style anyway. But when an artist comes out who makes an album and the sound is of that producer, they go crazy and they start making more beats that emulate that album to where it can be more of the sound. So that's what I'm trying to tell y'all when J. Cole does these things. It's not just J. Cole rapping, it's sonic, it's all types of things. He's changing the sound of hip hop by choosing to use his own beats. It's so he has so many different styles. So many styles are varied that, it creates a well-balanced ecosystem of sounds for all producers to try to be inspired. Just like me as a artist who's inspired by the flows, right? Crazy flows all across the board. Don't even want to get into anything specific because all of it was a master class, right? Especially if you're a writer like myself, you know what I'm saying? So you just appreciate an artist at this age, at this point of their career, still batting crazy numbers and still performing and producing great music. He's also showing that it doesn't matter if you are 30 plus, you can still do what you do. And this is another nugget that I want to put into. A lot of artists who are the same age or older than Cole, and he spoke to this in one of his songs about trying to bring back the fire of older artists that he loved and looked up to, and he can no longer do it or they can't do it. It's because if I can bring an answer to that, the way you start is the way you finish, right? The way you start is the way you finish. So a lot of artists, if they came up and they did drugs content in terms of music, they did drill music, they did low vibration music. I'm just gonna keep it a bean. Drugs, money, cars, very superficial bullshit that had no substance, and that made you hot for how long, however long that you were. Your fan base, 1985, I arrived. Your fan base gonna grow up, and if you are not able to grow up and mature with your fan base musically, then you're gone. You're out of here. You're out of here. Your only hope is to inspire the next group of young kids that come up because the initial group of kids that had you grew up and don't listen to you anymore because they outgrew you. Don't let your fan base outgrow you. You grow with them. And if you never was that in the beginning, you trying to be older and trying to get back into it is going to be harder. Case in point, and I know I'm all over the place, but this is the only time I'm bringing another artist up just for a comparison, is Ti. Right? And Ti is a great artist. I love Ti. I love his music. But Ti is trying to make a comeback, or from what I heard, he's trying to make a comeback. And I'm not saying Ti is not a great artist. He is a great artist. But a lot of the things that he came up in was the trap shit, rubber band man shit. Like that's you was a gangster, my nigga. Or that's the way that you went off in your music. And that's not to me saying you are a bad person or you can't be a gangster in this thing in hip hop. I'm saying that's the lane that you chose for your music. So only a certain amount of people are gonna follow you in that lane because they are mature and they probably got money and they probably got into businesses and they probably got into another side of their life where they grew up. But that's not the initial people that came with you. You know what I'm saying? And I think for Cole, he is able to keep the majority of his people from childhood in terms of his origin story of music till today. Like me listening to Cole in high school to me being almost 30 years old listening to Cole today, which is crazy as hell, I'm able to still relate to him. And I'm still able to see and respect and love the journey that he's been through. So having said all that, listening to the fall off 29 and 39, man, it was very, 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 very beautiful to hear. It was very refreshing to hear. It was very heart wrenching to hear because I'm hearing like a lot of people jokingly say about Cole, the homeboy that you used to fuck with back in the day, or the homeboy you fucked with high school, it turned to be a rapper, and he's the greatest rapper alive. Like that's just it's just a prideful moment, a proud moment. I think for myself, for the city of Charlotte, for North Carolina as a whole, to just have one of their own, be held in such a high regard. And this album was very personal. This album was very local to where a lot of the samples that he did was very, very southeast region. You know what I'm saying? To where if you're not from around here, you're not really gonna understand most of the samples or some of the innuendos he's talking about in certain songs or certain things that he says that are not necessarily lyrics. So, you know, I appreciated that to show myself who I am and where I come from and how I can relate to things. Um, People were saying that this people saying it took a lot of time for him to make this album. I think that creatively he had to get to a place to make this album, but I think he had to get to a place financially to make this album. These samples are not cheap. At least I wouldn't assume they're cheap. Let's just say that outside of J. Cole just being a good great guy, and they gave him a discount, there's still a lot of samples that you use and a lot of lyrics or a lot of flips that you use to where I know maybe you didn't make the best album you wanted, but you made the album you wanted. Samples, you want that sample. I feel like J. Cole was able to tap into his younger self and choose things that he couldn't choose when he was younger because he was too broke to have in terms of samples and clearing and styles and just ways of going about it, to where he was able to do something that he wanted to make without any type of red tape financially, number one, and then any idea that he wanted to do, it wasn't going to be met with pushback because you're J. Cole. So I just felt like he was able to just truly be free in making this album and not feel like he's gonna flop or it's not gonna work. It's gonna work. I think the feeling that confidence of just knowing that whatever I do, whatever I touch, whatever I make is going to work is beautiful. So I again shout out J. Cole for making this grand album and making sure that he put Carolina on the map once again, Fayetteville on the map. Shout out to Fayetteville, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to shout out to the East Coast. Shout out to aspiring artists who still want to make something for your city, make a name for your city. J. Cole definitely emphasized, and I usually see that when they are at the tail end of their career or the beginning of their independent career for artists, that they really show love to their home. Not saying J. Cole has always shown love to his home, but now he's able to really show Fayetteville in the most graphic way possible and with all eyes on him, to where I do this for the city, like I think that's something that I could just a lot of people can get behind. I say that he's doing what he want to do because he's free. He's doing what he wanted to do when he was young, right? In terms of pulling up to A&T, pulling up to Charlotte, pulling up to cities, and having CDs in his car and selling CDs out of his car, bro. Like that's not just I'm gonna take it back. I'm going to live out my dream. I think what J. Cole is doing is something that we've all closed our eyes and seen in our fantasies, that when we pull up to a place Everybody's gonna know our name. Everybody's gonna surround the car. Everybody wants a CD. Everybody wants a picture. Everybody want to listen to my music with me because I'm just that dope. Like everybody in their mind as an artist sees that and says that, no matter what language, what culture, even if you're not lyrically using lyrics, if you're if you are a musician, you close your eyes and we all picture that same dream. Now, this is hip hop and this is rap. So the way that this dream works is old school selling CDs out your car. That's the old school way for hip hop. The 100% optimistic view of that is a bunch of people storming you as soon as you enter the proximity, the vicinity. That happens with J. Cole. So I feel like the little kid, he's able to fulfill the younger sideline story Cole, Dollar and the Dream Cole, to the maximum capacity because he's fucking J. Cole of the world. Pulling up in a Honda, selling out CDs in the back, just like I was when I was young, to just give me that euphoric feeling again. I feel that, J. Cole. I know that feeling. I can relate to that feeling, resonate with that feeling. I've never done it because that was past my era, but regardless, it is something that you're doing to fulfill yourself. You're showing it. You're showing it. You're showing young boys how it's done in a way in terms of grinding out the mud independently, and then at the end, and then also you are able to show young artists like myself that it doesn't matter what you have going on in your life, as long as you're genuine in your story, in your pen, in your pad, and you go with the passion and hustle, anything's possible. Anything's possible. J. Cole is the most realistic blueprint that we have in terms of hip hop. Yeah. Actually, I want to transition before I finish off with Cole, because this is also something that came across my timeline, and it also is interesting because I have a personal story with this gentleman. But LaRussell signed to Rock Nation, and for all those who don't know who LaRussell is, he's an artist from the Bay, Vallejo specifically, to where he signed to Rock Nation, and he is hyper independent with his career. He's been like that since the beginning, and I think the people are torn about this. People are happy for him because he is now getting more support, but also people are confused, and I'll go as far as say betrayed, because all you preached was independent and now you're signing to a label. So what's that about? And I think that two things could be true. I think LaRussell has been doing what he's doing, especially locally in the Bay Area, to the maximum capacity, right? Pyro Day is a festival that happens in the Bay Area annually, and he was on the card 2 years ago. He was on the card a couple years ago. I can't recall if he was there for the last one in downtown Oakland. I can't remember. I remember DJ Black Woman was there doing her thing, spinning the ones and twos, but I don't remember if LaRussell was there. But LaRussell is very tapped into his city. I've seen him on a couple occasions, especially at the Grill Studio. Shout out to the Grill. You know what I'm saying? To where I've had personal encounters with LaRussell. He seemed like a cool guy. Seemed like a very tapped in guy. He's real as they come, especially with his aesthetic. But hmm, musically, I'm not tapped in with him. But I don't know any songs by LaRussell that have not passed California. I don't know of his music to where I could quote something from him lyrically, especially with just how hard he's been going. He's had features with other artists to where it's just it's just not been working from a recognition standpoint. He definitely gets the recognition regionally, but I think past that, he doesn't get the mainstream, but I felt like that's not what he wanted anyway. If he was able to put food on the table and the lights on, then I didn't think there was nothing wrong with his lane. But if he feels like being signed could get him to a bigger platform to speak and say what he's saying, which and that's kind of where it kind of gets weird, right? Because musically, if you know his music, he speaks to how he does it by himself. He speaks to doing things on his own. He speaks to, freestyling, to me, a way of just talking about independence. But now you're signed. So I guess that whole thing kind of goes like, what are you going to talk about now? You know, what version of LaRussell is going to show up that is going to grasp more people than you already had to where you will feel fulfilled? And does that mean you have to compromise your primary style? Would you have to do things, not do things, but would you have to jump in different pockets that you probably are not used to or you are not comfortable in, but it will bring you more success? We don't know. I wonder what that will do for you in Rock Nation, because at the end of the day, and I'll end it on this. At the end of the day, LaRussell, I would assume, is signing to Rock Nation for more exposure. Exposure, if anything. At the end of the day, it's got to be exposure. Nothing else, if that. So your face is going to be shown way more than it's been already from an independent standpoint. The music has to also captivate the people as well. And I haven't heard anything to where LaRussell has a factor in it to where it could be, I don't know. I could be proven wrong. I could be proven wrong. I haven't heard any smashes from LaRussell. I haven't heard a hit song from LaRussell. Maybe Rock Nation will change that, but I hope it doesn't change LaRussell for that to happen. So that's all I'll say about that. I will end off LaRussell. But yeah, man, Cole's new album is definitely something that is in rotation, and I'm definitely excited to see how the rollout goes. Like I've been saying earlier, now the album's out. I am waiting for tour dates. I am hoping that a tour date is in Charlotte. Hope it's at Spectrum. I am hoping, fingers crossed, hoping. And also, no, never mind. I will be telling you all about more things coming in Spectrum as they approach. Spectrum has a vast lineup of things that are happening, especially as we're getting closer to March. ACC tournament is happening. The whole ACC tournament is happening in Spectrum. Probably will not be potting as frequently as I should be because I will be there working that. So that will be something in advance. I'll just let you know. But there'll be plenty of things going on in Spectrum. So I'll have plenty of things to update you about. Having said that, let's get into the Hornets, the Hornets, boy. Listen, I don't know if y'all listen to this podcast. I don't know if y'all do, but I've been talking to y'all and I've been telling y'all, listen, we got a nice little facility. We got a nice little thing, you know what I'm saying? Turn up, turn up. Boy, I've been turning up. And granted, the 9-game win streak ended with the Pistons, but also the Pistons fight happened and I was there in my court. Yeah. But yeah, man, I ain't trying to emphasize on the fight. I ain't trying to do all that. The point is, I don't like the fact that we are getting headlines for that fight. I mean, a fight is a fight, but let's talk about the 9-game winning streak. We have been on the headlines for the 9-game winning streak. Let me not say that, but yeah, man, let's keep it winning, man. We just traded Colin Sexton for Kobe White. Hey, man, I don't know. We have to see. The season's going to where we are looking like we're gonna hit the playoffs. Gosh darn it, we might actually be going into April. It's crazy. Listen, I don't know what's going on in that Hornets locker room. I'm only around the corner in the first club around the corners in the locker room. I'm not in the locker room. I can't hear them. But when they come out the tunnel and they go out on the floor, they got to pass my club. So I see them. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, dang, I don't know what's in the Gatorade. They got that juice. They got that juice, man. Nah, man, Knipple, who is our rookie, is literally breaking records, knocking down threes like it's nobody's business. Okay, so All Star Weekend has already happened. Yes, Knipple was definitely a rising star in the All Star Weekend. He did his thing, and also, nah, bro, we gotta talk about the HBCU classic, you know what I'm saying? Like A&T versus Hampton, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to my A&T at Keep Pride. Woo, woo, woo. We came back, you know what I'm saying, on Hampton and the HBCU Classic for the championship. We won 71-70, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to the Aggies, man. Like a lot of dope shit was happening during the weekend. I didn't want to pass up the sports analytics on that. So yeah, man, the Hornets did well. My Aggies did well. We made trades. I'm feeling pretty good to be a Charlottean right now. I'm feeling really good to be a North Carolinian right now. You know what I'm saying? The Hornets is killing shit. The Aggies won the championship. J. Cole just dropped an album representing Fayetteville, but representing North Carolina to where, you know what I'm saying? Petey Pablo be proud. You know what I'm saying? Everybody who represent North Carolina stand up. You know what I'm saying? This is definitely a Black History Month indeed. A grand Black History Month. You know what I'm saying? A happy Black History Month to all my people. You know what I'm saying? I should have said that at the top of the podcast. But hey, man, better late than never. But nah, man, it's been a lot of things to be happy and thankful for. I definitely want to end this hitting on a positive note to where, just for the podcast sake, there has been, if I give you like a visual, it's been like a U shape. You know what I'm saying? From the time we had the visual, for all my people who haven't listened to the podcast before, this is what I'm trying to tell you, updating you on what happened throughout the last couple months of the podcast and the last year. People who know, this is just a retail. It's like a U. You know what I'm saying? We started off with the visual. We had a big schedule full of people and all these things. I keep mentioning it because it's something that's going to come back around. We went down to just not being around at all and, just being dormant, to me coming back, me trying to be more consistent, me trying to figure out how I want to come back with the podcast, and, a lot of off the mic stuff and a lot of off the mic thinking with myself, with Whitley as well. I chatted up with Daryl every once in a while, but the biggest thing for me is to keep the podcast going, grooving, and that is, again, myself. And that's where I will continue to make this podcast go. And if the my co-hosts, who I love dear and near, are not able to be on a consistent or a scheduled basis, then that's fine. And there's no hate, there's no nothing wrong with that. A lot of people have lives, like I've always said it in the beginning. But I do want to make sure this podcast grows like it's supposed to, because it deserves that. So there will be many people who will be on this podcast, not just to be a co-host, but just to chat it up, bring other life into the podcast as the Highly Dotted podcast grows to the road to infinity. So again, I am not going to dwell too deep more into it. I'm not going to drag this into an hour if it doesn't have to be. I appreciate everybody who listens. This is the Highly Dotted podcast. This is episode 140, and I am your host, KQ Dog, and we are out. Bye.
Hard life when you're hard knocks. Every day is the same day. Always have the bad thoughts. Yeah. Drop top on a Wednesday. Hey, KQ on a Wednesday. Yeah.